Hey guys, just the glue wreath. I just wired up this frame. I can wire up my second one. You guys know I like to batch create. If I'm cutting some mesh for one wreath, I like to create it for two so that it works, it maths out right. So let me see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so we have our 18 pipe cleaners. We always use on our 14-inch wreath frame. This one has the 4 rings on it. I always snip off about an inch, inch and a half of the pipe cleaners because I know that after I twist them onto my wreath form, I never use the whole thing. And instead of going back through and trimming them off, I just like to cut them up in the beginning. So to each his own, everyone figures out what they like to do best, but that seems to work for me. So we're gonna wire up this frame and get going on our fall wreath. I did just go live over on my YouTube channel, went live over on my Facebook channel. My business page, Peekaboo Wreaths, same as here, showing on how I was thinking regarding the color scheme for this wreath, the inspiration behind it. I don't know if you guys, when it comes to fall in general, if you guys, where do you guys find your inspiration? You'll have to let me know. I know that a lot of times when I'm trying to get into the spirit for Christmas, I will watch Hallmark Christmas movies to try to get my thought process and inspiration of like all the Christmas feels. Or I'll watch other wreath makers on YouTube making certain kinds of wreaths, and it just kind of reminds me, oh yeah, I like to use that color scheme or use those embellishments and things like that. So we're just tying these on here. 18 ties all together, 6 on the top, 12 on the bottom. I fasten the top 2 rings together tight enough so that it doesn't move, but not so tight that it pops the weld. That would be bad because then that frame would be ruined and you'd have to throw it away or try to return it, even though you wouldn't want to return it because it's not a manufacturing error, it was your error of being too strong. But we're just going through, quickly wiring up this frame. I have 3 rolls of mesh that I need to cut. They are 10 inches wide and I'm going to cut them at 30 inches long like I always do. When you do cut it that way, it makes just enough for 2 wreaths with the 18 ties like I show you here. I'm just going to start working on some fall wreaths. I am done making football wreaths for the moment. I have 2 loaded up in my shop for the orange and blue color scheme. It's been selling again this year, which is so fantastic. Anyways, here we go. Let me show you that a little bit closer up in case you needed to see it. But yes, I've been happy to say the orange and blue football wreaths are selling again this year. So hallelujah. All right, so we have this really pretty color. I was originally thinking it was gonna be a burnt orange. It is definitely not. It's more of like a dark mustard yellow, slightly green even, I would say. And then we're gonna be using this burgundy. It is RE130205, and then we have this cream. It is RE130083. I was originally thinking to use a burlap with the burgundy and the yellow, but sorry about that squeak. I only have 1 roll of that cream, and I was thinking, what else am I going to use that cream for? You know, I know with like winter and Christmas, it's more about like the white, not necessarily the cream. So I thought, well, you know what? This might be a good chance to use it. It would be a good way for me to lighten up the color scheme in the wreath. And that's that. That's what I was thinking, and that's what we're going with. So let me stretch out my mesh. How I always do it is I lay one mesh on top of the other, and then I roll them and I hang them right off my table. And I try to keep them straight and even so that they don't tangle when I'm trying to cut them, because that can be a mess. Hopefully we won't run into that today, but only time will tell. This mesh is a plastic woven material, and the edges are like a little bit sharp, so hopefully it won't catch on each other. So we're gonna wanna line them up here, get them as straight and even as we can. And then I have a rotary cutter and a self-healing mat, and I'm gonna try to cut as straight of lines as possible. Even though we're gonna roll it under a couple of times, I always try to cut as straight as possible so it kind of minimizes on the frays. So, as I said before, I always cut them to 30 inches. My mat is 24, so I always measure out to 24, and then I stretch it over to 6, and then I cut right at this starting point. There you go. So we're just gonna stretch them over, go to 6 again, and then cut it. So, there we go. Gonna get all of our mesh ready, and then start loading up our frames. What are your favorite color schemes for fall? You have to let me know. I know that for Halloween, I've been seeing a little, I don't know if it's just because like Facebook or whatever tracks like what you watch, but I've been seeing a lot of reels lately with pink and orange for like Halloween. I think, what are they calling it? They're calling it like, it's like some kind of mix of the words summer and Halloween. Summer, I don't know what they're saying, but they're saying that, yeah, pink is like real big this year. Pink, and then like white with like opalescent type of look. I don't know, I'm here for it. It sounds pretty to me. I do have a couple of wreaths in my shop that are for Halloween, and they do have some pink in there. So if you're looking for it, head over to my Etsy shop. I do have another wreath in my shop currently for fall that has maroons, but it has maroon and like a dusty blue color. So it's a good look. There we go, 6. And I try to make my cuts as precise as possible. As we get close to the end of the roll, we're going to start seeing the mesh coming up. So we got 24, we're going to measure over to 6, and then we're going to cut. Alright, let's go. Try not to cut our fingers. There we go. Alright. We're all done with that. Yes, I know. Yeah, when you're using a rotary cutter, you need to be extremely careful. I know some people use electric scissors when they cut their mesh. That's fine too. You just want to use something with a sharp blade on it. But please be careful. I know, I don't know her personally, but I know of a wreath maker that really cut her hand bad. I can't even imagine. She had to get stitches and like all kinds of stuff. So please be careful. All right, so here we go. We have our 30-inch mesh. What I always do, move the camera just a smidge that way. All right, so what I always do is I have it so it's like facing up like this, and I always roll it like 2 or 3 times, and then I just scrunch it up the middle. I keep my thumbs stationary, scrunch it up the middle, then I take the other side here and roll that a couple of times. What it does, it just kind of, it gets the raw edge, it hides it a little bit, and then I always flip it over so that the raw edge is facing down, and then you don't have to open up your twist tie, just twist it down in there, kind of open it up like a butterfly, and then turn it. So I am going to be using all 3 of these colors on this wreath. I'm just going to be know, rotating them. So there we go. Just roughing it right up the middle, trying to keep it as even on both sides as possible, and then flipping it over and sticking it down into that pipe cleaner. I do pick that first piece of mesh up a little bit so that none of the mesh is overlapping. I like it to be kind of like butting up against each other like that, so that it gives me the full look that I'm going for. You'll start to see as this wreath becomes more full, it's going to be, as soon as we start running out of table space. It happens. Most of my wreaths measure, when they're all finished, about 24 to 25 inches wide. They definitely demand attention and hold, what am I trying to say? They definitely have a presence. You can spot my wreaths on your door, that's for sure. All right, here we go. Doing the same type of thing. 1, 2, 3. Most of my wreaths, I do use the same exact method. I've kind of learned what I like, what gives me the look that, the fullness that I'm going for. And once you kind of figure out what you like, you stick to it. There are lots of different ways to make wreaths out there, and you just practice and find out which one works best for you, and then just keep doing it. So here we go. We're just rolling this up a little bit, flipping it over, putting it down. There we go. Just twisting it one good time. This kind of reminds me of, isn't there like a college that's these colors? The burgundy and the gold. I feel like there might be. And there we go. Just flipping it over and then putting it down into that next tie. If you were gonna, I'm looking at that cream and I'm just reminding myself, if you were gonna use a lot of light colored mesh, you might want to spray paint the frame beforehand. I know I do that when I make my burlap wreaths, because the burlap is so light and the frame is like that dark, what color am I going for? It's definitely green. It's a good green. It's almost black, it's so dark. So I'm just tucking that edge in. The mesh, because it is that woven material, it will stick to itself a little bit. So if you want to take that raw edge and just tuck it inside of that little cone or that little curl. And if you do ever get, frays, you can always cut them off with some sharp scissors. I wouldn't recommend pulling them because it'll just make it worse. Have you guys ever had that happen on like a shirt or something? Like if you're in a hurry and you see like a string that's hanging, you're like, oh, I'll just pull that real quick instead of running to get scissors, but then it ends up making more of a problem than if you would have taken the time to just get the scissors. Tell me it's not just me that's happened to. All right, there we go. Okay, let's take this burgundy color. I'm just ruffling it up. Making sure that we're still in the camera frame. Sorry about that. Okay, we're just opening up that next tie, laying it down in there, and twisting up. There we go. There we go. Sorry, it's starting to get nice and wide for us. All right, so let's take the cream colored one. And we're just going all the way around until we have 18 pieces of mesh. And then I'll look at my ribbons and figure out what we want to do. I'll go check out my signs and check out my ribbons and decide if I want to just use a big bow and some florals, or if I want to include a sign as well. I'll have to see. I know that this color scheme was, I felt inspired by some of my my picks and florals that I had from last year. It was actually this one right here. It's really pretty. It's like the exact same color as the mesh. So let's just move that a little bit to the side. So I thought that would be really pretty to include that in the top layer probably. So I'll just have to decide what kind of other things I want to add to this wreath. So here we go. What do you guys think of this color scheme? I know that the cream doesn't really look like it matches the best. But here's what I've learned about wreaths is that sometimes if you add like a light color, like whether it's like natural burlap or cream or something like that, it really really adds a pop to the wreath. Sometimes if you add just like all darker tones, it makes the wreath look too dark. And a lot of people have doors that are not white, right? There's some kind of like wood or some kind of darker color normally. So if the wreath is too dark, a lot of times it won't show up on the door as well. And customer wants the wreath to be able to be seen, you know, from further away. And if it blends in with the door, it's good to match the door, but if it blends too much, then you can't really see the wreath the best. And we want our wreaths to be able to be seen. So, all right, so here we go. We're moving up to the top level. I'm just folding the mesh down a little bit and the layer underneath so that we're not overlapping at all. Okay. And then we're doing the same. Honestly, it doesn't really matter if you do the exact same pattern or not. You know, if you do cream, burgundy, yellow, or cream, yellow, burgundy, I don't think it matters a ton on the top. I try to keep the same color pattern on the bottom, just it's all in the details, and I notice things like that. And just like my business name implies, Peekaboo Wreath, life is full of surprises, and hidden details are a good thing, but all of my design choices are definitely planned out and deliberate. I love matching and putting little special details, and I think that my customers also appreciate that. And they've come, a lot of my customers are repeat customers, which is such a compliment. It's always fun for new people to meet new people, but knowing that a customer purchased from me in the past and decided to come back and purchase from me again shows that they trust me to do a good job and help dress their door. All right, we're on our last three now. So I'm just gonna take, we got one more cream one, the yellow and the red, and then I think we're gonna be done for today because I need to figure out which ribbons I'm going to be using. I think this color scheme is going to be really pretty. I honestly don't know if I have ever created a wreath with these exact colors. I know normally I do more of like the burnt orange with the burlap, so this will be fun. My sister at one time made wreaths too. Most of her wreaths were like flower wreaths. It was like a different kind of mesh. It's called poly burlap, and it's like a thicker mesh, and you could like kind of fold it, and she would make like petals out of it and do that type of thing. So even though we were both making wreaths, they were like different. Anyways, she had given me this roll of cream mesh, and I was like, that's why I only had one. Because normally when I buy supplies, I buy multiples, so that if I make something, and even though all my wreaths are one of a kind, if I make something and a customer really likes it, I can say, oh yeah, you know, I can recreate that or recreate something very similar. And so I normally buy more than one of something. So when I saw I had one roll, I knew what had happened there. But I think this is the perfect combination. Here's my last piece of mesh. I'll finish it up here. And then next time I see you, we will be talking about which ribbon choices I made. I always cut my ribbon tails. We'll have 17 sets because I will be putting my bow over one of the pipe cleaners with the mesh in it. So the ribbon wouldn't be able to be seen anyways. So I always just make 17 sets and 2 pieces in each mesh piece. And there we go. So I'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Comment and like and subscribe and let me know what you think. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.